Hello, and welcome to the Practice Marketing Podcast, highlighting successful strategies from North America's fastest growing clinics and experts so you can learn from their wins and power your practice growth. Hi, I'm your host, Neil Trickett, CEO of Practice Promotions. And today's focus, we're going to talk about 3 tips for clinic marketing coordinators. So, how you can take control of your marketing and succeed at your job in getting more new patients into the clinic. So, we're joined by Blake Willis here. Blake is actually an account executive here at Practice Promotions, but before that, he was the clinic marketing coordinator at a 7-location practice in Northern Virginia and Southern Maryland. So over those 6 years that Blake worked as a marketing coordinator, he was able to help develop a lot of relationships, physician referrals, and help grow those clinics along with a marketing director there. So he's going to help share some of his tips and advice on how clinic marketing coordinators can really take control of their clinic marketing and succeed at their job. So if you're hiring a marketing coordinator, or if you're thinking about hiring a marketing coordinator, or you are a marketing coordinator, go ahead and listen to this podcast all the way through. We're going to have some great tips here. So Blake, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for
Great.
having
So
me.
let's jump right in here. And you were a marketing coordinator here at this 7-location practice here in Northern Virginia and Southern Maryland. So what kind of marketing actions were you responsible for, and how big was that team for a 7-location practice?
Yeah, so when I started, I had a direct boss. She was our marketing director, and I had one other team member who worked in Southern Maryland primarily, and I was in Northern Virginia for our 2 locations. We grew that team from the 2 of us as coordinators into 5 total. So we kind of had 5 for the different 8 regions and areas of the clinics. But obviously 2020 came and COVID hit. So myself and the longtime other coordinator were the only 2 kind of left. And then she moved on to a different practice, and it was just myself and my marketing director. So we were kind of the last one standing and went from a team of 3 to a team of 5, then back down to a team of 2. So that was kind of the size and scale of what we ran as a marketing coordination team.
Mhm. And what kind of things did you do as a marketing team there in the clinic to drive in new patients into the business?
The biggest thing was just direct to physician office kind of in-person meetings. A lot of it's going out and networking, trying to get in anywhere that treats patients that might be sent to physical therapy to receive other treatments. So it was a lot of interfacing with front desk people, office coordinators, nurses, medical assistants, and then the rare occasion of actually getting face to face with a doctor, because as we know, they are super busy.
Mhm.
But the overall goal was to bring in new patients to those clinics. I mean, that was the idea, was to establish really good relationships with those physicians and their practices to show them, hey, we are a great place to send for your PT clinic, for your PT patients. So really just connecting with them, trying to make sure they know about us, get to know some of the therapists that work in our clinics, and just forming those bonds so they feel comfortable sending us those new patient referrals.
Yeah, so a really important action, right? I mean, I've done this job myself, having owned a practice. I've gone out and met with, lots and lots of doctors, knocked on hundreds of different doctors' doors over the years, drumming up business and keeping relations going. So I'm curious in your aspect there, with with that philosophy, how and now that you're working at Practice Promotions, right, and you kind of see we're working on direct to consumer marketing there. How do you see that in comparison to what you were doing, and were there any holes in the strategy that clinic was doing, if they were just focusing heavily on physician referrals?
Yeah, so in starting here, what I've come to see a lot of is just going back to my experiences being a marketing coordinator. And I'll tell you one of the stories that kind of led me into this conclusion. One of my best referral sources was a podiatrist. Him and I formed a really great relationship. We would text outside of the office, but he would send us 4 to 5 patients a week fairly regularly because he really liked our treatments, was very, very comfortable with me. One day we were in his office and he was seeing a patient. He actually asked me to step in because they were kind of at the end of their meeting, and he said, "Hey, this is so and so. I just gave her a referral slip to come see you guys for PT. She's going to come to the office right down the street." Everything was great. I ended up walking her out, and as soon as we left the office, she pulled out her phone, and went on Google to Google the practice that I work for. She wanted to see the reviews that we had written. She wanted to see the stars that we were given. She wanted to see it in Google Maps. And I looked at her and I just said, "You have the referral in your hand." She goes, "Well, yeah, this makes me more comfortable. This is what I do with everything." So in my head, that kind of showed me, it was like, man, even if the doctor is saying you should go here, a patient's first inkling is to look online and see what that company is about because it makes them feel better about before calling. Yeah, a doctor can tell them all this stuff, but the days have changed, right? People are always on their phone. They're always going to be investigating for themselves and wanting to find the best place that they feel comfortable with. So just seeing that kind of interaction, I just kind of went in my head like, whoa, this is something we need to be in front of and start doing because we were just basically get in front of that doctor, get a lunch set up till we could talk to them and get some time, which it worked great. It's a very good system. But we were kind of missing the boat on some of those areas of, turning your website into a patient driver, different things like that that you'll be able to do at practice promotion. So it's very interesting to come on this side of it and look back.
That's a really interesting experience there, and a fascinating story in that even though the doctor had that exact place that he wanted to send the patient to, they're still doing their due diligence, right? They're still saying, people don't have 100% confidence in their doctor anymore either, right? So they're looking
It
at choices
changed.
and they want to see what the experience of others is online. That's really interesting, and yeah, I've definitely seen that too, I've had the pleasure of talking with hundreds and hundreds of different practice owners, all across the United States and Canada. And what I find is really fascinating is that there are, still people that got comfortable, with physician referrals, and they might have 70, even 80% of the patients that come to them from doctor referrals, and that puts them in a very dangerous position because we all know how hospital acquisition is happening with physicians, and it's very easy for a group of doctors to get bought out. And guess what? Now they're having to send within network, and you lose a tremendous chunk of
On
business.
that, one of the things about the physician referrals, you could have a great doctor who loves you, sends you patients every week for a consistent basis, but then they might take a week, 2 week vacation.
Yeah.
And if they're gone and you don't have a relationship with the other doctors, you're going to get a zero for those 2 weeks from that patient referral that you're expecting 4 to 5. So now you're in scramble mode to figure out other places that you can go to pick up the loss for those patients just because of a week or a 2 week vacation. And then also, like you said, that doctor all of a sudden gets a better job offer and moves on to a different state. Um, One of the big ones I had, we had an OT program where we found a doctor who was great right down the street, sent us all his patients, had nowhere to send his OT. So we had that business for about 3 to 4 months. His wife wanted to move home, so they moved right back up to Maine. And then we had zero patients for that OT program. So
Oh
it's
gosh.
it's it goes both ways, right? It's like
Yeah.
great to have the relationship, but once it goes, then you have to have a backup and figure out other ways. So
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of our listeners have those kind of stories, right, where they've lost a big referral source. We had one when we started out in our business. The neurologist was sending about 50% of the patients to us that were in our practice at that time. So things were good. We're rocking and rolling, and super happy. And then all of a sudden, one week, patients aren't coming in. New patients are not being referred. And I thought, gosh, did we upset the doctor? Did the patient give us a bad, review back to the doctor? So I called him and he's like, hey, look, you guys do an amazing job. But I brought in my own therapist, right? And boom, right there, I lost half of my business overnight. So it's good when it's going, but then you are putting yourself in a position where you're dependent on those referrals for the majority of the business, and that's dangerous, right? Um, so we want from a marketing perspective, we do want to make sure we are working towards building relationships and networks with doctors and expanding that because they are part of that whole, healthcare in the rehabilitation sphere, right? And we can certainly develop referrals, but if we use it as a predominant way of getting new patients, that's not good, right? We actually want to shift that, paradigm in today's world and actually be more direct to consumer marketing, being on that online presence and leveraging your patient list, and then still have the networking with doctors. That's having it in that way is what we see time and time again grow clinics, right, to achieve their goals. So Blake, let's talk here. You've done a lot of effective marketing actions in that practice. So what did it take you to achieve that goal, and what kind of results did you see from these different campaigns that you worked with?
Yeah, a lot of things that we tried to come up with were some ways that we could be different, right? I could go into an office once a week for a month and not talk to anyone or gain any ground. Because you get on that repetition of go in, you have a marketing folder, you have a one sheet, you have a script pad, and you leave them with everyone. Now, do those get to the doctors? Probably not all the time, and I understand that. But one of the things that me and my direct boss kind of came up with was specific plans to go after places and let them know about the treatments that we offered. So we would kind of do a once a month type push. So one month we would really focus on promoting dry needling, right? We would go around the area, really go into those clinics like the orthos and different places and try to meet with those doctors so they know about dry needling. We give them some more information. I actually had a lunch where one of our PTs came with me and dry needled the doctor during the lunch so they could actually feel it, which was really cool. But again, once we did that for a month, we then switched to a different type of treatment. We did blood flow restriction. So we did a whole month about informing doctors about blood flow restriction, the benefits, some of the successes we've been seeing by using the treatment. So I always wanted to go in with something different that you had for that office. So it wasn't just, hey, I'm here checking in. Can you send us patients? Okay, bye. It was, hey, I have something that's very informative. The doctor would really be interested in this. So being able to have that difference every time you went back in there and just being informative because they get reps come in every day of the week always asking to pitch something and do something. We just wanted to be more informative and say, hey, this is what we have, this is what's going on, this is something new, this is something we're really trying to push and seeing a good success rate. So having something kind of stacked up as a plan, like treatment here, treatment here, treatment here, and then doing that really gives you a little bit of an edge, and having, like I said, that mystique, right? What's he got today? He must have something new because, different things along those lines.
I love that. Yeah, and making it really interesting and different, right? And how can you stand out? Because like you said, and how you have reps going in the office all the time. I never forget, it was back in the day, and I'm at a physician's office waiting to talk to the assistant or somebody, right, in the office, and basically I saw uh, back then it was Vioxx, right? Vioxx was the ongoing arthritis medication before they pulled it off the shelves and all that kind of stuff, right? And then there was another one, I forgot what the name of it was, but basically the Vioxx rep came in and it can, they're I hear them chatting, him and the doc, right? And he's saying, it's so and so more effective than the other brand, right? He leaves, and immediately the next brand competitor comes in and he says, "Oh, well, our study showed it's this much more effective than Vioxx, right?" And so it was hilarious to me because I just saw this interaction and it was like totally contradictory information, but that's what they're hearing all day long. And then you got to come in and you don't want to get lumped in with the pharmaceutical rep, right? They have their own thing that they're dealing with, but we want to be different with that. So I love how you went in and you try to really focus on a different kind of treatment, something that they may not normally refer, like blood flow restriction or dry needling, something like that. That's
Yeah,
really
some of the
cool.
stuff they just haven't researched as much or don't really look into because again, they're busy and they're experts in their craft. So you want to make sure, hey, have you heard of this? If not, let's give you some more information. Let's test it out. Or I have a patient, success story I can tell you. Another
Mhm.
another interesting thing I always made sure too, when you got into the marketing reps and drug rep differential, when I had my laptop, I was first going out, my boss was like, hey, let's get you a new laptop bag. And I said, no, it's okay. I have a really brand new Under Armour book bag I got. I'm just going to use that for now. And didn't think she really liked that as much, going in with the book bag. But when she came down after about a month of me being on my own, we walked into an office and one of the girls I got in a really good relationship with, hey, it's the ProFlex man book bag guy. There he is. What do you have in your treat bag? And she looked at me and said, keep the book bag. Like that was
That's
one of
funny.
her looks. She goes, if it's working that way, I'm completely fine with it. So again, it was one of those things about having a different kind of look, right? Instead of
Yeah.
your normal suit and tie, bringing in the demo case and stuff like that, just giving yourself some edge in different areas. So
Yeah. And I like what you said that you like have it's great to have different handouts all the time. So you're not just talking about, hey, we treat everything, right? Just get really specific. It's because you're going to circle back to that office maybe in 2 or 3 weeks. So you have to, have a different type of handout, something else to talk about, something that, what differentiates you compared to other, clinics in the area. And honestly, what I found is that when you go to a doctor's office, you really want to get to know the referral coordinator. That's the main person that's going to send you the patient. It's not really the doctor, right? The doctor, what you're trying to do is just change their perception on sending, to therapy in general, right? So do you need to go to PT, OT, speech, like whatever, like, just sending them to begin with is the hardest part to change the mindset of a doctor, right? So when you're what I found is when I was trying to help that doctor send more referrals because they really didn't send much anyway, was I would try to do what you did, like where you can get in, hey, let me show you your medical assistants or your nurse, like some ideas on how to differentiate a rotator cuff versus an impingement, right? Or a herniated disc versus, nerve root entrapment, right? So they it was hilarious because when I got in those offices for those kind of presentations, I try to make it super simple, right? And I never forget, like the doctor came in. He was hearing it. He got interested, so he came in. I was giving a little quick, 5 minute PowerPoint to the nurses and the MAs, and they were, making it fun and interesting and made it interactive, like raise your arm this way and all of that kind of stuff. And then what happened was the doctor came in and I'm talking about like abduction of the arm, bringing the arm up, and he's like, "Oh yeah, what's that motion called again?" And I was like, "What?" It just kind of blew my mind because
Yeah.
we always think, like that they're very good in their direction, right? Of what their specialty, but we forget that we're trained in a different direction. We're trained in musculoskeletal evaluation, and we have different terminologies and all these kind of things. And so it was very enlightening during that process just to realize, like, hey, I got to make this simpler, right? But again, exposing them to just different ways that we're looking at things, and what that does is it really helps what you're trying to achieve, right? Is you're trying to achieve uh, you know, the equal playing field. Like, do they view, the PTs in your practice as being almost equal, right? In their medical, background. And so if you go and doing the stuff that the pharmaceutical reps do, you're lumped in with the pharmaceutical reps, right? But if you try to differentiate yourself to be that medical expert, medical practitioner, they start to review you more as that. And that's when the referrals start to happen.
Do you want more freedom in your clinic? Then you need to work on your business, not just in it. The top practice owners know that they need a marketing system that consistently attracts patients from the internet. And at Practice Promotions, we've helped hundreds of practice owners skyrocket to the top of Google and get more new patients from online. Go to practicepromotions.net/kit to get our free practice marketing sample kit. It includes all our digital marketing tips and tricks that will get you new patients from Google. That's practicepromotions.net/kit, KIT, for a free marketing kit. And now back to the show.
So Blake, for you, obviously you worked many years in this role and did successful things, but for you, like, what was some of the biggest challenges you found as a marketing coordinator, and how did you address those?
Yeah, and again, it's one of the biggest things when I talk to patient or practice owners now. It's consistency. It's getting those new patients coming in every week on a consistent basis, keeping those patient visits up. One of the biggest challenges is, unfortunately, in the PT space, a lot of doctors are opening their own PT. The orthopedics have their own physical therapy side where they're kind of pushing their patients over that way, and it's kind of difficult to let patients know that they do have a choice. They're allowed to look for their own, but they kind of get lumped into that. Well, you had surgery here, and our PT's right across the hall. Why don't you go over there?
Mhm.
Or you can just go somewhere else. So it was trying to really make sure that those practices knew who we were. We're not trying to steal their business. We're just trying to be there to aid their business and help them with patients, who might have a longer drive, who might be looking something closer to home. They don't have the space because the hours are different, or they're full up because a lot of those places are 2 and 3 week waits to get in. So being able to inform those people and those practices about your practice, getting those patients to come onto your side on a consistent basis is one of the challenges. So a lot of things we did was just trying to work with those practices as best as we could, do a lot of learning lunches to where they could meet our physical therapists, see us come in and not like a competitive standpoint, but a working to kind of together, right? So,
Mhm.
we're here. If you guys have patients that are looking for different options, if you guys are full and having a really long wait list, we're here for you. We want to be that person that you guys can go to, and that we're going to do a really good job. We tried to get a lot of success stories to be able to show those doctors to where patients would come in with an issue. Hey, I had knee surgery and I wasn't able to run. Now it's been 8 months post treatment and I'm fully running back to my normal self. Being able to tell them that their time with us was really valuable and it really helped fix kind of their issues. But being able to show those to those doctors really helped a lot and
Hmm.
gave them a lot of confidence to not just, okay, you don't want to come here for PT. Well, I actually have this place instead of just sending them out to find it themselves. So
Yeah.
being able to get those relationships and get through the door is really one of the good things that we tried to do.
Yeah, I like how you brought back the wins, the reviews, right, to the doctor from the patient. And I think that's a great strategy. Something that worked well for us in our practice was, target those orthopedic clinics that are just a little bit too far, right? And they're not going to send patients necessarily to their therapy to go 3 times a week when they have to drive in 20, 30, 40 minutes, right? So depending on where you are in the country, like you might be a little bit more rural, so you want to connect with those bigger groups that might be in the bigger towns where people would go in for the surgery, but they're not necessarily going to go there for the follow-up care,
A
right?
lot of people would rather travel for the surgery than for the physical therapy because of
Yeah.
the grind of it. So, and I understand that because we have a lot of people in my area that would go towards the bigger cities to get their surgeries done because that's where the more hospitals are, the better treatment is. But being able to show them that, hey, there's PT close to you
Hmm.
really opens up another door.
Yeah. And I like what you said too about consistency, right? So that tends to be one of the biggest challenges in a practice is the inconsistency of new patients. So some weeks you're just cruising along, it's slammed, you're happy, things are going great, and then all of a sudden the bottom falls on. You're like, we're so slow this week. What happened, right? And it's stressful. It's stressful for everybody, right? So the key there is, again, if you're heavily reliant on physician referrals, you're going to have more in those ebbs and flows, right? Because like you said, some doctors will be on vacation, or some weeks they just get different cases, right? And they're not necessarily going to send out as much to therapy. Or heck, even they have a lot of personnel changes at the front desk. So the person that you had a good relationship with, all of a sudden they got replaced 3 weeks ago, and now your referral stopped because they
Ran
didn't
into
know who to
that
send
a
to
lot.
anymore, right? All kinds of situations like that happen. So you want to keep working on your physician networking and physician relationships, but you need to make the direct to consumer your primary, right? Because that is what brings the consistency, because now people are finding you online. You're also leveraging your patient list so that patients are going to come back to you. They're also going to send friends and family. So you have a lot more consistency and inflow of new patients and referrals happening there. And then that's supplemented by the physician networking and physician referrals that are happening. So Blake, as you worked here in the marketing coordinating position, what were some of the ways that you measured results and wins across different clinic locations?
So it was the new patients per week. We had a goal, a weekly goal, and then we also had a monthly goal. We really wanted to make sure that we were getting, obviously enough to cover everyone's salaries and all that stuff. So we had certain numbers that we had to reach. But success was, if we were getting consistent referrals from doctors on a regular basis, if their numbers weren't jumping too much, they'd send us 5 1 week and one the next week. We kind of want to figure that out. Um, but yeah, it was all about the new patients. That's really what it was the more new patients coming in, the more patient visits we're getting, the more people were being seen, the more word of mouth that has potential, because if those patients are getting good treatment, they're going to tell their friends and family. So it's all going to have a trickle down effect, right? Is
Mhm.
getting those new patients in. That's kind of what we were really, really based on.
I think you were telling me too that you did different tracking, like which doctor sent which patients, so that you could really, have different notes on that particular patient. It helped you go back to, the doctor with those kind of notes. Is that how you rolled?
Yeah, so our front desk was trained to ask a multitude of questions on new patients' arrivals, and one of them was, how did you hear about ProFlex, or how did you come in to find our practice? And the patients would put down doctor referral and then put the doctor by name. Sometimes they would forget, and we'd have to go figure it out. But we try to figure out where patients were coming from because they usually have to put down a referring doctor on their forms. So whenever we would have that, it would get uploaded into our system. I would find out about it. If it wasn't a doctor I was familiar with, I'd kind of want to hit them as soon as possible to kind of go try and establish that relationship. Say thank you for sending over the patient. We really appreciate it. And, kind of go after it from that angle. So figuring out where those patients are coming from and trying to get on as fast as possible was kind of one of the real big things that we did.
Mhm. Excellent. And so, if we have a new clinic marketing coordinator that's gone into practice and they're listening to this podcast here, what are some of the tips that you would give them to help them be successful in their job?
First thing I would say, don't take no personally. So when you're going into offices and you're doing visits in person, if you haven't done it before, getting told no or getting kind of the cold shoulder can be really eye-opening, but it's not personal. For some reason, that office may be busy and they don't have time to speak with you. It's not your fault. Just make sure you come back and be consistent and be polite. Another tip, just be positive. The best thing that people notice when you walk into an office is your demeanor, your attitude, and the way you're looking and presenting yourself. If you come in with a bad mood, they're going to already see you're not in a bad mood and don't want to talk to you because they don't want you to bring that bad mood into their office.
Mhm.
So the biggest thing is having that positive attitude, being a nice person, someone that they want to talk to when you walk in that office. If they see you walk in and they smile, you know you're doing something right because they're going to want to talk to you. They're going to actually go see if the doctor's available for you to go back and speak with them, which other reps might not get that kind of treatment. But if you're one of those where you walk in, oh, there he is. Let me go see if the doctor's in the back and can give you 5 to 10 minutes. And that's all about really your attitude because if you come in, you're not having the greatest of days, it really shows. They're not going to really want to interact with you. So that was one of the biggest tips that I found from my boss, and then I kind of made sure to work into my everyday, being of working as a marketing coordinator.
Was there anything that you found to be quite successful in getting past the gatekeeper at the front to just chat with someone a little bit further in the back?
Yeah, so the biggest commodity for healthcare offices that I found was pens, right? So my boss, when I started, had these really great pens that were different colors, and no one thinks very much of them, but I went in and made sure that everyone in that office had one, or if they needed one, I got them one. So my boss was always making sure to restock me with pens because I was the pen guy. Anywhere I went, if I didn't leave a pen, some people were like, wait, 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 you didn't give me a pen, what's going on? Just a small thing like that got me so much more further into that office and building those relationships, just a small thing. And also chocolates, those are never bad to have, if you have them on hand, because it just brightens someone's day, and that's going to
Mhm.
stand out the next time you come in and you really want to try to set up a meeting or get in with that doctor. If you were nice and had something, a little bit, again, standing out, right? Standing
Yeah.
out from the others. If you have something small like that you can kind of own, like find that for your own niche, right? So mine was pens and chocolates. So someone else it could be stickers or just something off the wall. Just come up with your own kind of thing to
Yeah.
make you stand out and establish those relationships.
I think the key thing to understand that I found is that a lot of times it is about that gatekeeper at the front. So don't blow them off and just, you're trying to get to the doctor or the medical assistant in the back, right? Like you're going to get blocked every time, right? So you gotta woo and really get to be friendly with that front desk person, stand out as you said, right? Give them some little gifts and stuff, and just be generally nice, right, to them, and eventually, it might take a few times. That's when you build a relationship with them that leads to the next relationship that you can develop with the
A
coordinator.
tip there too, now that you actually explained the front desk people, one of the tips that I really took hold was use your own team as much as you like to use the other offices. So the front desk person you said is the gatekeeper. They're the ones you talk to. Your front desk person is also the gatekeeper for the business you're working for. So they know a lot of things about patients that are coming in. They're the ones asking them questions. They're the ones interacting with them, doing their scheduling. They
Mhm.
have a lot of information that you can pull that you might not get if you're not really working with your own teams because that front desk coordinator is the first person they see. You also want to make sure everyone else on your team is with you and understands the importance of marketing because when they're bought in, they're going to point things out to you that they might see or hear from a patient that they're treating. So they could be treating a patient and they said, "Oh, I went to this place and they didn't really look that great. And I end up finding you guys online after my doctor had referred." Well, now you have a doctor you can go see and tell them this story and then plug your own place. So that's
Mhm.
something that you learn right from that therapist that you would have never known because you're not the one working with the patient. So using your team as an asset is a really good tip that I learned very, very early on. And it really helped me over those 6 years.
That's great. Yeah, that's great advice. I mean, I don't think we do enough of that where we're leveraging our team and also the patient, right? So um, a lot of patients like to help us out, right? They've had a great experience there. They want to give back, right? And what we want. We want more referrals, right? So, could you help me out? Do you know someone that would need our help? Mention them to us, but also go back to your doctor or just call your doctor's office and say how you're feeling now and what you've been able to do since coming to therapy. Like just that kind of positive feedback to their office, that's golden, right? Because who is the doctor going to listen to more? Are they going to listen to the patient or are they going to listen to the therapist? Well, they're going to listen to their own patient, right? Because it's their neck really on the line for sending them to you, right? Or giving them that referral. So, go out of your way to have that patient help you. And like you said, coordinate with your front desk and some notes and things that you find out, but like get that information back to the physician, right? And that strengthens that relationship that you are, a trustworthy place to send their patients to. So Blake, as we if we're talking to someone out there who's a clinic marketing coordinator, and there's a lot of things that they have to do, a lot of balls that they have to juggle with marketing and physician networking and all that kind of stuff. So what are some of the core things that can help the clinic marketing coordinator be successful?
Yeah, a lot of things are going to be pushing into figuring out how many metrics you can use, right? You want to use your website as best as you can and try to figure out, are patients coming in through your website? Are you using online advertising? Are you using Google Ads? Are you doing that stuff? If you can get in there and know exactly what everything your clinic might be doing, you're going to have a better understanding of how people are finding you. Again, the number one goal for marketing coordinators is to do that face to face, establish those relationships. But if you're also looking into, are we getting people through Google Ads? Are we getting people through our website? Are we doing any radio stuff? Are our public events really bringing in a lot of people? If you can be involved in all that and knowing how those things are performing, how they're really doing, are they bringing you patients? You want to be involved in all of that, right? Not just kind of concentrate on your face-to-face visits, getting as many as you can in the week, seeing if you can meet doctors. But if you're doing those public events, you're getting leads, you're doing Google Ads, you're getting people in line. You want to know where those things are coming from and how they're being tracked. That way it gives you a better understanding because you're not always going to get those referrals. So you need to lean on other areas to really get more new patients in on a different avenue.
Mhm. Yeah, excellent there. And I think you've seen it. I've definitely seen it as we talk to different practice owners from all across the country. And that is that they may have some general metrics, like I know the number of new patients per week, but like if you ask them how many new patients they actually get through their website, majority don't know, right? And if you ask how many they get through, say, Google Ads, they don't know, right? So like you said, I think that one of the key things is if you're a marketing coordinator or you're thinking about having a marketing coordinator, you really need to have good systems and good metrics in place to understand what is working in your marketing, because then you can make the right decisions off of that information, right? So if you know this certain thing is working really well, let's put more effort into that, right? If something is not working very well, we don't need to put all the effort into that. So you're not second guessing for these things. And, you may do some events for PR and things like that, and that may have some trickle down effect. But if you're putting, say, an enormous amount of budget or enormous amount of effort into doing those things and it's not really moving the needle, do you need to keep doing that, right? Or do you need to like lessen it a little bit? So that's where good metrics comes into play, is helping you make more informed decisions of what is working, what can you strengthen.
Yes. Agreed.
And so like being in that role there too, we run into a lot of practice owners that are right on the cusp of wanting to grow their practice to that next level, and they're trying to do all these things themselves, and they've kind of been toying with the idea of getting a marketing coordinator. And so, with that practice owner there, like what should they be looking for when they are going to hire a marketing coordinator? What skills or qualities would they need to look for?
You're going to want someone who's passionate, right? Because overall, someone with a sales background always helps because they've dealt with people and they're interacting with people. But having someone that believes in what you guys are doing is really the key because salespeople can say they can sell everything, but who are the best salesmen? The ones who are passionate about what they're selling. And
Right.
you're not really selling a product here, you're selling a service. So it's a little bit different. You're not going in and trying to get a number to sell a vacuum cleaner to somebody. You're selling something that you firsthand should know and have knowledge of that you believe in because physical therapy is a service and there's a lot of people that don't like it. And let's be honest, there's some people who go go for a visit, don't enjoy it, and then don't go anymore, but they also don't get better. So, luckily, coming into the healthcare space, I was super passionate about sports, physical therapy. So I got into it and I was just ready to roll because I knew I was pushing something that I know worked, right? And it helped people. So at the
Mhm.
end of the day, you're doing this to help people. You're obviously looking for those numbers for your clinic, but you really want patients to get better because if those patients are coming in and getting great treatment and receiving just the absolute best care that they can, they're going to tell people, they're going to tell their doctors, which is in turn going to be better for your practice. So being passionate and believing in the system is really what you want to look for. And obviously, a person who's very outgoing and very personable. Those are kind of the things I would say you definitely want to look for and when you're bringing someone on for a marketing coordinator position.
Great advice there. I can agree more. The first quality that you got to have is that willingness, that passion, right, for it, because it gets you through those hard days, right? When you get a lot of no's and a lot of rejections, right? So you got to believe in what you're selling, right? That's the fundamental thing for marketing coordinator. Um, I would just add to it too that what I've seen to be really successful for folks, practice owners, right, when they're hiring a marketing coordinator, the best marketing coordinators that I've seen are the ones that actually are really good project managers, right? They're really good at coordinating activities. What you don't want to have is someone who is like just wants to be a social media whiz, right? Because they're missing a lot of the other components, and you can't just rely on social media to feed everything into your practice, right? So if you like someone who wants to just stay in the clinic and play, social media or like sending some emails out, that's not really the ideal person. You want someone who's really good at project management. They can work with ideas within the clinic. They can grab things from patients. They can be good at networking with doctors. They can, a lot of it's actually pulling good information and content of what's happening in the clinic and being able to tell those stories. So you need someone who's really good at getting all that stuff for you. And then they can work with it, doing it themselves. They can work with, some outside sources like a marketing agency to really help them dial in some of the technical stuffs, whether it's websites, SEOs, Google Ads. They can leverage those projects and coordinations. And so that's what we've seen to be super successful for our top performing clients is they usually have a really good marketing coordinator who works really well with our team, and they know what they want. They're great at getting content and information from within the clinic. They can leverage our team for the graphic designers and SEO specialists and Google Ads specialists and website specialists and all that stuff. And that you're not trying to figure that all out in-house, which is too complicated, right? Um, and then if depending on the size of your clinic, you have that marketing coordinator there, marketing director. If you're big enough and you're ready for it, like then that's that time to get that physician liaison, and that could be helping you go and meet and network on those different doctors for that. So that's just my 2 cents there, what I've seen work really well. So Blake here gives us a lot of good ideas and direction here for working with physician networking and marketing coordination here. So, is there another simple step here or a start that a clinic marketing coordinator could do to take control of their clinic marketing? Like, what would be a great first next step for them to take it to a new level?
If you're first starting out, you really would. What I try to come into is treating it like it's your own business, right? If you're managing a clinic for a marketing coordinator job, if you have multiple locations, make that your business. The territory is going to be the area that you are working in constantly, right? You want to make sure that you know the ins and outs of where you need to go, what times you can visit certain places, what doctors are going to be more apt to see you on a Monday versus a Friday. You want to kind of take control of it. So be able to tap into those metrics that you have available so you can kind of get everything coming in from all angles. You can talk about online, you can talk about in person, you can talk about patients that are saying good things while being treated by telling their therapists. Just get in the know and be involved. Use your team as a resource, like I said, and just treat it as your own business that you want to grow and make it into something that's helping the company that you're working for.
Mhm. Oh, that's fantastic advice. So thank you, Blake, for giving us a great in-depth information here on what it took to be successful in your role. And hopefully that's helpful to practice owners out there who are considering hiring a new marketing coordinator for their clinic, or if you're a current marketing coordinator, it gives you some tips and some direction there on how to get better at different referrals and aspects of your position. So thanks for being on the podcast and sharing the information with us today.
For having me, Neil.
Awesome. And so all to our listeners out there, don't forget to subscribe and follow us on social media, also YouTube, and don't forget to subscribe on our podcast here. This is Neil Trickett from Practice Promotions, wishing you much success in your practice.
Thank you for listening to the Practice Marketing Podcast. Don't forget to get your free practice marketing sample kit at practicepromotions.net/kit. Start 2024 off the right way by building marketing systems that automatically attract new patients from online. That's practicepromotions.net/kit.